Today's matchup. Jin Air Green Wings. KSV. Beginning of the end. 2018 League of Legends Champions Korea Spring Split.
Welcome back, OGN Legion, to LCK Spring 2018. Had a bit of a break after the BBQ victory over Kongdu Monster. Unfortunately, Kongdu unable to have the same stellar performance that they had against MVP, but now it's the meat. It's the matchup that you've all been waiting for. Jin Air Green Wings making their debut finally here for 2018 against KSV. The formerly Samsung, who looked so dominant on day one.
They're making their re-debut after obliterating previously Longzhu Gaming, now Kingzone Dragon X. It's fun to say once, but not any more than that. KSV, who, of course, as you say, previously Samsung Galaxy, they're in a bit of flux. I know they announced months ago as an organization they would be coming up with a new name for their League of Legends team, but it's been confirmed by Kevin Zhu and also in the interview at the Gangnam Stadium that that's going to be delayed till summer. So they will be KSV under that banner, at least for the spring season. And if they follow their play earlier, like you say, they will also be dominant in the spring season because they looked oh so good. And kind of scary thing was they didn't really have to do anything different. They stuck to being the old Samsung Galaxy that was oh so reliable in the laning phase, but also reliably dominant in the team fighting. And Longzhu tried a couple of different things. Kingzone tried a couple of different things, and it didn't work.
It didn't. I mean, they had Rascal on the top side of the map. They were trying to figure out what to do with Peanut now. There's the possible story of having too many carries, too many chefs in the kitchen, that sort of storyline. But it is definitely going to be a step down. I don't think there's any way you can think otherwise if you're moving to an opponent like Jin Air instead. I mean, they did finish higher than we've seen Jin Air finish in the past in the summer split. It was an admirable effort, but they haven't made too many changes to their roster, haven't changed up too much. It's Wraith moving actually over from Samsung, of course, now into the support position, so saying goodbye to Snowflower, unfortunately, but I'm not sure whether it's going to be enough of an upgrade here, and it's just probably going to be another highlight reel for KSV to show off once again.
See, I'm going to kind of be a counterpoint and say I really do like the duo of Teddy and Wraith. If it's the Wraith I remember for 2016, when he was playing with Ruler, I was a big fan of that duo. If you can take a very talented laning AD carry, or at least talented AD carry in general, like Teddy, and actually really make the laning phase to the next level, I think Teddy and Wraith can be very promising. I think losing Kuzan and having now two rookies to replace him is the part where I'm unsure about. So the mid lane for Jin Air is my worry, but we're looking at KSV, and this is a reach when it comes to stats. But if you look at the day of the week they play on, OGN says, they're really good on Wednesdays and Thursdays, Atlas.
Yep, they use Tuesday as the warm-up. Unfortunately, they're not always going their way, but Wednesday, Thursday is where it really gets hot and heavy until they get a bit tired on Saturday. Too much partying on Friday night. That's what they've got to stop doing. KSC, come on, guys. Ambition's really got to have a talk to them, you know? He's the family man. He's probably ready to just give him a chat and say, hey, guys, just settle down.
I can't believe this is a graphic.
It's such a ridiculous stat.
The weekend is just, hangover time for KSV. So, Riot, remember this, you know?
I think they must have just put all of the MVP games on Wednesday, Thursday. Like, let's be real. it's got to be how it worked out.
Well, let's move to the next piece of information,
I
don't want to talk about this anymore.
LCK Data, you let us down. You let us down for this particular slide. You've been really great. Otherwise, all the other sort of, you know, LCK-wide stats that we did see were brilliant. Let's move into the matchup here. As on the blue side, for our first game, it is going to be the Jin Air Green Wing, so at least getting that blue side advantage. Is it going to be enough of an advantage? I'm not entirely sure. So1, of course, another notable mention is the fact that Ixu no longer in the roster, and it will be So1 taking that role for the entire time. Mostly a carry top laner. Jace been seen a lot in that match history. He's
spent his whole career as a sub-mid laner, but now with Ixu stepping away to become a full-time cryptocurrency investor. He announced this, by the way. Yep. Full-time cryptocurrency investor.
I like how it's like he hasn't moved to NA. He hasn't gone over to China or anything like that. He's not trying his hand in Brazil. No. He's trading cryptocurrency.
We've got a treat for you. It's a lesson, Atlas. The head coach here, Coach Han. We're going to give you a chance to learn a thing or two about League of Legends.
That is so sad.
I hate it.
I hope they're like, nah, we'll give you a chance to learn a thing or two about League of Legends, KSV. But I don't think that's what that means. I think they're saying that this is our chance to learn a thing or two as we get slaughtered by KSV.
I'm just so disappointed.
It's not exactly fighting words. It's not exactly fighting words.
I know. I just want to spend more time talking about Ixu's full-time cryptocurrency.
Not going to be able to, Pups.
I know, he's gone.
We're going to move over to the other side of the rift. It's going to be Cube. Ambition starting jungler. Haru still sitting behind him, but not going to be playing this time. Crown. And there's the man everyone's been talking about. Ruler played some of the most ridiculous League of Legends that we saw on day one.
And it's
also
it
continues.
It's also the 5-man roster that won Worlds, Atlas. This is full-strength KSV, only Haru as a sub on the roster. Wraith, like you say, against his old team is a fun storyline to keep tracks on. Here's the head coach, Coach Choi of KSV. Going to get 2 wins before the weekend. Rest up, that's our plan. And you know what? That is exactly the kind of inch forward, stay strong resolve, casual approach that led to their decimation of Kingzone. And so they want to emulate that performance here today. They looked indomitable. That's the word I will use to describe KSV. And Haru was kind of expected by most people, including myself, you know, with the meta where it is, to be playing, at least on the first day, but they've cemented on Ambition early. He's playing the Rengar, he's playing the Haru special. It feels disrespectful in one way or the other. But he is the elder of the team, and KSV are our pace setters so far in LCK Spring 2018.
And with how well the lanes are doing as well, I just feel like Ambition style still fits in so well with this team. We're going to see him highlighted right now as Wraith, the support, versus Ambition, which is interesting, you know, based on the fact that Wraith was formerly Samsung sub, Jinair's oldest member and team leader at the same time.
Takes on KSV after being there for 3 years. Wraith's been around, honestly. He was on SK Telecom T1. Was the replacement for Pu Mandu. Of course, now is a coach for SKT. He was on Xenix. Definitely jumped across orgs, whereas Ambition, very famous player, 67 minutes for 2 games. Was pretty impressive on the first day. His Jarvan 5-man cataclysm into pulling it out of control with the stopwatch was great to see. The married man Ambition is a fantastic player. He is the shot caller in the late game, at least for the side of KSV, and I think the fans will be liking KSV. They like him a lot.
Yeah, 14% to 86, that's about what I was expecting. Maybe a little bit higher than what I thought Jinair would be able to bring in, but we haven't seen them just yet, so some people holding on hope for their little aeroplanes to do what they can to get off the ground.
Jinair has some really loyal fans. They came up to us during the break to pass over some rice cakes to celebrate Umti's first anniversary as a pro player, which was very nice. They've always had a loyal contingent, even though they are about as long-suffering as any Korean League of Legends org can be, even less successful. Someone like CJ back in the day for Jinair Green Wings, but the fans have stuck with them. Haven't had the success, but upsetting KSV today would be a mini win for the side of Jinair.
Well, I'd probably upgrade that. I feel like massive win would come in there because being able to get a good debuting game, much like what we were talking about with Kongdu Monster coming out of the gate strong, I mean, that was against MVP, very different. If they can win here against KSV, that's insane.
Man in the middle, we're just going past him, Grace, is Yaharong, who did play mid lane for Jinair in the Kesper Cup. So no change there. Grace is Yaharong. Just for clarity for the fans at home.
Of course, replacing Kuzan before that. Sad to see him go, was certainly a player that we were hyping up quite a lot when Jinair did go on a pretty decent win streak in our last season of LCK. Only reason why they weren't in that sort of World's Gauntlet run was because their spring season was just not great. So, see whether it is going to improve now as we move into Champion Select. Blue side does give them what could be seen as a pseudo advantage based on how a lot of these drafts have gone down so far in the first 3 days, but It's not something that you can necessarily have enough statistics for.
Yeah, a bit of hocus pocus.
Yeah,
you're trying to
hocus
understand
pocus.
because
The sort of stats that I'm into, Bob Smithy.
Understandable. You love the magic, Atlas. Well, the magic's about to rain down. It's getting game right now.
Yeah. Hopping straight into Champion Select. What will be the first ban? Gangplank, taken away from Cuvée. And I feel like it's really settling in on a bit of a Cuvée meta at the moment, with Gnar all the way up there. The fact that he needs the Gangplank respect bans as well. Only going from strength to strength is that, man.
I want to see some Zoe today, Atlas. That's what I decided. We saw some Zoe on the first day of the season, and some more here is... Okay, got a bit of an issue, unfortunately.
No, they just needed to make sure we hopped out, so no Zoe bans, please. Papa Smithy has said that he wants to see Zoe. And, not entirely sure what has happened. We'll probably just hop back in, but...
Someone crying? No, he's just actually adjusting his eyes.
Just adjusting his eyes?
Yes.
Where were they before?
They were still in his eye sockets.
Okay, good. Thank goodness.
Hopefully we'll just be able to a couple of seconds to get back into game.
Just
Hopefully nothing serious there.
Everyone can still hear, guys. That's the main thing.
We didn't hear the dreaded audio issue cue from Joel.
I'm scared that you're mentioning it.
We're still on the Discord server, so we'll be ready to hear it if there's
Because when it's an audio issue, I mean, the point of audio issues is they can hear us.
The fans are going to believe we have a Discord server with Joel one day.
I hope so. I actually like to believe that we do anyway. I just haven't seen it. I've never actually logged in as auto-logged in.
What does a Discord server look like?
You don't know?
No, I've been in one, but I don't know what it looks like, the actual physical representation of it.
Probably just like a server.
What do servers look like? Are they the people that play tennis?
They're those
like
big rooms with the blue lights in the movies.
Oh, like the
Papa Smithy.
60s movies.
Yes. All
this
of
is
them
our
are the
computer.
Same. Yeah.
And it's a whole room.
Yeah, and there's like a million Cat 6 cables just everywhere. Not sure whether they're doing anything, but they're there. Probably relaying information that we just don't understand or comprehend.
Well, we've got no information to relay to you, OGN Legion, so we're hoping against hope. It's going to be a couple of months. A bit of coaching changes with Jin Air as well. Comment no longer there.
Yeah, it's actually Fly moving over. Brand new. Was
Coach Fly, which is definitely a well-known name to the fans at home, given that he's been in NALCS a couple of times.
Yeah, actually was on Phoenix 1, helping them out, but was formerly on RNG, which is impressive due to the fact that their 2016, I believe, MSI run was really, really strong. And that was when Fly was actually behind the team.
You can rewind even further, remember, and he was also on LMQ.
Yes,
in
yes.
Those early days was always seen as kind of a prized coaching talent as he's gone through. Now on Jin Air, so that is going to be, I think, a positive move for them. See if they have another lease on life. Jin Air really got it together in summer. You know, they reinvented themselves from delay to having some different strategies, and don't know how much of that exactly was comment, but definitely going to be a different interpretation of the meta now with the new coaching staff.
Yeah. I'm hoping that it means that we see a little bit of different things coming out of Jin Air as well, and maybe some of the inconsistencies. Looking at the jungle mostly. Just getting a bit more information. Okay.
Trying to see. It sounds like client issues potentially happening. We don't really know the specifics yet, but if there's any ruling, we'll let you know. So hope we're going to get into the game very soon.
One thing I do really want to talk about, Papa Smithy, is Crown, I feel, had a lot of impact on the outfits for KSV. Because it matches his bling like no one's business.
I mean, he does look very dapper. Again, as I said last time, I do wish the ring around his neck was, in fact, his Samsung Galaxy World Championship
Instead
ring.
of the one ring, which it looks like.
To rule them all.
Yeah. It just
I mean, he
hasn't
does
thrown it
rule
into
them all.
Mordor yet.
He is the world champion.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So he must have the one ring. Like,
I hope he has
Only
some new
makes sense.
champions. That's what I'm hoping for there. The Malzahar only thing did work for him in the World Final, but...
And look, still very, very good. So you have a feeling that if it is available, they will lock it in.
Here is his former teammate on the left. That is Wraith, a very popular player in Korea. And there's Ruler.
Yeah, speaking of popular players, Papa Smithy, this is the guy that we're all going to be watching.
If you ever want to see someone who's on a hot streak in solo queue, at least the last time I checked, definitely go onto op.gg and type in I love KSV. That is the username on the Korean server for Ruler, who, if you watch Faker's stream, is popping off whichever team he's on.
Just straight up killing everyone.
Yep.
And it's actually not a great... I'm a bit of an avid Faker watcher. But he just hasn't been very happy, because even if Ruler's on his team, Ruler's just the one getting all the kills, and Faker's just like, he's like, you know, all the time, you know, making his little Faker frustrated
Does
noises.
he do that little neck crank?
Yep, does the little neck crank.
That's the tell.
That's when you know.
That's why he's not a poker player.
That's why he's mad.
He'd have a tell.
Yeah, that's true. Thankfully, he
It would also take him
poker.
away from solo queue and winning world championships.
And broccoli and all that sort of stuff. Okay, we'll see what's going to happen. Slight issue working out how the client was exited in the first place, guys. Just seeing whether it was an accidental client exit.
It's not going to be a small penalty on Crown here, given that if it is intentional, that does happen. But we'll see what it resolves to be. It's unfortunate. We just want some good, clean League of Legends, but the client issue means that we've been delayed for a couple of moments. I hear some woos, though. That's probably a good sign.
Yeah, here we go. Straight back in. So first ban does come in for Jin Air, but I think KSV are... Oh, no. Okay, so they're going to ban it away first. So it doesn't look like the penalty has come in. And it seems like the accident was proven to be an innocent accident.
Ah, proven accident.
Yeah, proven accident.
Well,
Also,
no accident with the ban from Jin Air. No Shen allowed. A QV special, but also Core JJ. Playing someone in solo queue. Core JJ was the only member of KSV that stuck with the same champion, played 2 games of Braum. Inspired a lot of people to follow in his footsteps. Felt like Braum was outclassed by Alster Leona and the Tom Kenches of the world, but now Braum is seen as tier 1, especially against Ornn, given that interaction with the Call of the Forge God. And this is the Ruler special. It's the Varus, so even though the icon is new, the ban is justified. 3 hyper carries. We talked about the red side 3 hyper carry ban, Kalista, Ezreal, and Kog'Maw bans. The Varus loaded on top of it, but that means Sejuani has made it through picks and bans only the 2nd time this season.
Now what does QV do? Does he rush in to lock in the Gnar that he picked up game number 2 last time we saw him, or is there more that's available that they want to take away? Of course, the Rise is another one, but KSV might actually look towards the Malzahar instead. I feel like that's got a higher priority at this particular point in time, and it is Crown. It's much harder to build Morellonomicon into Leandra's Torment if you're playing Rise.
Rise is seen as kind of tier 1 mid lane over something like Zoe, which I know will lead to some gasps and shock and awe from people because of his flexibility to play side lanes. The fact that you can play him in the side lane, take Ghost Flash, Unsealed Spellbook, get around with the Realm Warp. He's less linear. You know, at the end of the day, Zoe is one of those mages like Orianna that kind of sticks around mid lane, can roam, but largely is kind of anchored to mid, whereas Rise is not. And playing side lanes is one of the things he does uniquely well. That's why he has risen in the estimation of many of the Korean players, even over something like Azir. Now, the Rise versus Azir matchup is a good one for Rise. He actually does pretty well and competitively in this matchup, so you're not worried about this at all. Naturally itemized into the Abyssal Mask, but it's a change from the Kesper Cup, where Azir was the God tier, and from there, something like Rise was lower. Now Rise is that flexible God tier mid lane.
Great, demonstrating that he certainly was capable of playing the Azir back Kesper Cup times. Humpty's going to lock that one away for him, and now we'll see exactly what he's going to pick up. Will it be Teddy's pick now? Try and grab one of the remaining 80 carries, something like a Sivir perhaps, but no, Ornn is available, so one could certainly grab that. So as far as the first 3 picks, these are certainly high priority ones picked up by Jin Air.
I wonder if you double ban Teddy from here. Caitlyn was a big pick for him last season, could be back. Caitlyn Sivir could be considered here. Wait and see what happens there. KSV could just take support, Braum, for example, or the Tom Kench, but you mentioned that Gnar. And if you want to go for lane pressure, you probably have to take it here now, otherwise the coverage bans will come from Ornn, and Juve showed with that monster play with he and Ambition in the World Final. That is, Gnar is pretty damn good. Brought it back into the meta as well. Mid-season going for a lot of DPS Gnar, which was fun to watch.
And in Rift Rivals, of course, having some of his most incredible Gnar plays, when Gnar wasn't even really in the meta when he sort of started debuting. Very impressive.
Does provide coverage for himself here. KSV, they do ban away the Camille. Always the flexibility for Wraith to take the Ornn into the support role. So just want to take away some of the worst matchups in this particular scenario. Cannon's still available, should be mentioned, but there'll be a lot of AP damage on the side of Jin Air.
Does give Teddy a lot more flexibility, so could theoretically even go back towards one of his old favorites in the Jin if he wanted to. Was certainly a pretty special Jin player, but Jin hasn't really been seen as much, given the rise of all of these hyper carries. Now, what does Ruler grab? Does he grab Core JJ's pick up here? Because Tom Kench is still available. Zach also an option, and that's an ambition special, most certainly, but I feel like getting a support would make a bunch of sense.
It's a really confident pick also
on
the Zach here, and I guess you could say that Core JJ is looking for support counter pick. A lot of times the red side meta has been last pick support counter pick to try to guarantee a 2v2 lane win. Well, hyper carries like Vayne are a possibility. We saw Deft not be able to pick up the victory on this last time out. Doesn't have an Azir or a Malzahar to respect, and we do see the lock-in. Crowd goes wild. In solo queue, Teddy's most played by far was the Vayne. They weren't just hovering it for the hearts and minds. They're going straight for it. Will just be the Braum for support. Does cement potentially 3 winning lanes for the side of KSV, though.
It's real frightening. That's a gauntlet that's been thrown. And 3 winning lanes for KSV is exactly how they want to play League of Legends every single time. Just straight up every time. Because now you got Ambition on the Zac as well. More than happy just to chill out in the jungle, then be extremely powerful later. And that's Core JJ finishing up what is now a terrifying team fight coming out from KSV.
I mean, you could say at least both sides have terrifying team fight. It's just, how do they enter a 30-minute team fight at equal gold? That's kind of the thing that boggles my mind, because it's Umti on Sejuani, who can do things early, but largely does focus on level 5, level 6 especially. And KSV are going to be so happy to sit back, or I shouldn't say sit back, push forward, and then also have the Zac for counter ganks and also farming up happily. So KSV just sticking with their type. This is how they drafted against Kingzone. They don't alter anything against the Jin Air Green Wings. And if I'm Jin Air, I hope I have some really smart macro calls going. Otherwise, a KS victory kind of looks on the cards.
It does. Feels real frightening, but we've mentioned the power of Ornn looking up towards the top side, so on. If he can navigate this lane, that's going to be real hard against one of the best Nas in the world in Cube. Might be an opportunity. He's got his hands on the Sejuani for the second time that it's been available so far in the LCK, so certainly a coveted pick. Azir versus Ryze is a confusing one for me, but I definitely agree with you. I feel like Crown is going to have that one on relative lock. And we saw Deft, despite the fact that he went Inspiration Tree Vayne, still dumpster a lane.
I still need to be convinced, Atlas. I'm certainly not convinced in the draft from Jeanette, apart from the late game fantasy. Will the fantasy become reality?
Yeah, well, someone has to provide the other opinion, and I personally want to see Green Wings put up a fight. Because KSV, they just roll over everyone. It gets a little bit boring. But guys, let's do it. Let's get into game number 1. All right. All of the Samsung fans certainly moving over to KSV, our world champions, well represented here in the Soli Stadium. I'm not ready. I'm not ready to fully throw Jin Air's composition out the window, Pops, maybe.
And the fans, I have to say, aren't ready either to fully embrace, Samsung and then KSV. Their fan base really has kind of lagged behind where you'd expect for a world champion. It kind of took Rox Tigers 2 goes around in competitive play to get going. As it goes around, just a bit of a face check here as Wraith will get out. Bit of a love tap from his former team.
Everyone just displaying the facts that they are actually there, and then bowing to one another and moving away.
Look at the match history here. Genoa would pick up 3 games, including a 2-0 in the second round robin of Summer. That was really in their renaissance.
They looked real good.
Jin Air Summer really were a different team. It felt like Jin Air's kind of time periods were 2015, putting the 2 teams together, sister teams together, until 2017 Spring, and then just 2017 Summer as a new chapter, because they became a team that could play fast, that could do innovative things. Still had a couple of long game fiestas. I may or may not have said a colorful word during a 78-minute Yasuo is science moment of a Jin Air game, but largely played a lot shorter was their game time, as, well, No, it's pretty good, we learned.
Yes. Yeah, QV is also pretty good at it. So not doing too bad. Crown taking a fair bit of damage. We see this is a volatile matchup. Saw it yesterday, in fact. Faker there in the mid lane playing the Rise was getting real punished in the early levels. It's just the fact that it doesn't last quite long enough. Someone's going aggressive.
You know what's even more hype? There's only 3 stopwatches.
Whoa! So the final count for the first series, ladies and gentlemen, playing at home.
3 games.
3 games, 19 stopwatches. It was quite a few stopwatches.
That it was.
And we're starting off with only 3, Papa Smithy? That's not a very inspiring number. In fact, how much inspiration do we even have? We've still got a fair. That's 4 out of 5 on KSV's side. And oh, only 3.
Turret dive is on the way here by Umti. QV only level 2.
Okay, and goes someone gets the knock-up. Brittle's going to be there. And Umti should be able to grab it. Permafrost was there as well. Really nice tanking at the top. Oh, God.
Umti could die here.
Yeah, he's getting pulverized by the minions. Red buff paid dividends.
It did, actually. It just about out-healed the minion damage. That was really good timing. Level 3 is when you usually take the bounce there on QV, so very nicely done by Soan and Umti. First blood win rate of 60%. There was a lot of first bloods. Umti in spring season also was the first blood king before he had a couple of brain explosions at the end of spring, you'll remember.
Win rate wasn't exactly high for those first bloods, as in goes Ambition. It's now his tribe. It doesn't get the stretch Armstrong. That feels bad.
I was going to make the obvious joke that if you watched LCK, if you're a long-time viewer, you'll remember that there was kind of a group think that the coolest thing in the game was Zonia's on Zac for the poses he does when he Qs and when he's in the air. I mean, stopwatch is kind of the acceptable way of getting one of those Zonias, but sadly no stopwatch for Ambition in this game.
Didn't get it.
Feels bad.
I assume he's got free us boots, though, so we can feel good about it.
We'll confirm that around 8 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
More like 10. It's Ambition on Zac.
I mean, if you don't have a stopwatch and your inspiration secondary, then you're probably going to have free us boots.
Umti's just power ganking on the Sejuani. He's down.
Yeah, thinking about opting out of that one as Teddy's in trouble. They're looking for the
call
stun to call
JJ.
JJ. Yeah, will they actually find it? Slow comes in. Ruler jumps his way out, but no one going to be finding it just yet. This is good pressure coming out from Umti, and this is what we're expecting. Normally he's playing Lee Sin and doing this sort of stuff, but
it's against type a little bit because it is the Sejuani, but first purchase Cracker's Knife and Boots and focus on the movement speed and making the ganks happen. Doesn't mean he's behind in levels by a lot. You can see Ambition already level 5, but I believe Umti's probably 1 camp away from 4.
yeah.
It is fleet footwork on the Sejuani. First time we're seeing this. Last Sejuani, Wolf, was Aftershock. Fleet footwork has become more and more common just for the attack speed. You can't load your rune page with attack speed anymore, so in this way, getting the fleet footwork, you get attack speed from the precision tree, but also get the extra movement speed to proc the E yourself, Permafrost.
Well, Umti sacrificing the resolve means that, as you saw, extraordinarily squishy here in the early stages of the game. Now with some boots instead of anything else relating to health, should be able to get himself around. Ambition pretty unhindered as far as just clearing things out in the jungle. Has himself his farmy Cinder, so he'll be farming pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's basically a please no one else die, I just want to farm kind of game for Ambition. Graves and Zac are the 2 champions he's known for.
As opposed to the other games that he plays, Speed.
I've seen him gank once or twice on Jarvan.
There was that time? No, you're right. There was that time.
But there's the Graves and the Zac where he's like absolutely no ganks ever.
Alright, Wraith. Going a bit ham. This Teddy has gone back to base. BF sword by. Comes in very quickly. Looking to grab Ninja Tabi, but has himself the cloth armor to start it off.
The first goal here for KSV with 3 pushing lanes is the fact that it's the first spawn Infernal. If they can push out a lane and rotate over to the Infernal take, Zac can obviously stay healthy throughout that. That is, to me, their first goal. When you have 3 pushing lanes, you always try and think, okay, that's great, but to what end are you pushing? What are you trying to gain on the ability to have 3 strong lanes? And mid lane will take a bit longer to push. You need a couple more levels from Rise to be able to answer Zero just pushing with the Sand Soldiers, but
I feel like we needed to caveat the whole 3 winning lanes thing, because it's not like they're winning at all stages of the game or anything like that.
They get there, especially in the mid lane, whereas bottom top are very, very comfortable. Notice it is fleet footwork on Teddy this time, not going to be going the deft route of Kleptomancy.
Which I'm okay with. To be honest, Kleptomancy was pretty cool that Deft was able to win the lane, despite not winning the game. But still, it was a little bit worrying.
Point stands, if you're going to draft this strong early game, you need Drakes. You need something to show. If you're not going to gank, you need to be getting wins somewhere. Otherwise, the draft makes less of an impression in the early game. And Jin Air, actually, see, Umti's kind of powered himself to 6, and it's gone straight for it.
Yep, some Honey Fruit just to make sure that the bottom lane is at full health as well. And a bit of gatekeeping from Teddy. Starts to throw some of these silver bolts forward. And you're right, Papa. This is a pretty good start for Jin Air. We have a lot of these coveted picks like we were talking about. We're talking about the makeup of the team composition not necessarily looking like it was going to go in Jin Air's favor. Right now at 8 minutes in, they've managed to grab first blood, but they're only 500 gold ahead. Infernal Drake's there, and look at this steal on the blue buff as well.
So much attack.
Sejuani's crazy.
She's different. With Fleet Footwork especially, she can be played in this really aggressive manner, and it often does pay dividends. So cool to see Umti playing towards his Keystone. Very, very different to the Aftershock we saw from Wolf, which really doesn't help in the clear at all. Clear is going to be benefited pretty heavily by going precision Fleet Footwork.
This means that with all of this invading, Ambition's not going to have a lot of options, but now he's going to head his way forward. Soan looking for this. Will be able to get the boot back. No, doesn't quite. As the stopwatch, does he have one? Possibly, can't see it right now as he gets destroyed underneath the turret. Cuvée tanks it up expertly, moves his way out. Grace looking to try and pick this one up. Could be a pretty ridiculous